In the far future, when the stars belonged to great empires, humanity was the smallest name among giants. The galaxy saw humans as weak, a fragile species that had only just learned to reach the stars. Alien civilizations, thousands of years older, laughed whenever they heard the word Earth. To them, humanity was nothing more than a noisy child in a room full of ancient gods. Commander Elias Ward knew those laughs well. He had heard them echo through the Galactic Council's broadcast chamber. He had seen the looks of pity and mockery on alien faces as they spoke about humanity's failures. When humanity tried to build its first planetary defense cannon, it had exploded before even firing once. The aliens called it the firecracker of Earth, and their laughter spread across the systems like wildfire. But Elias did not laugh. He watched that explosion from the underground control room, standing beside Dr. Lena Miles. Lena was young, brilliant, and stubborn. Her hands trembled with frustration as the entire project collapsed before her eyes. "It's not the design," she said quietly. "It's the power source. We need more energy, something stronger." Elias placed a hand on her shoulder and said, "Then we build something stronger." Years passed, and humanity learned in silence. They stopped showing their projects to the galaxy. They stopped asking for approval or permission. In secret, deep under Antarctica's frozen ground, they built something new, something the galaxy could not imagine. They called it Project Ragnarok. The project was not just a weapon. It was humanity's answer to every insult, every humiliation, every defeat. Hundreds of scientists, engineers, and soldiers dedicated their lives to it. They worked in shifts that never ended, fueled by a single dream. To prove that humanity could rise, no one on the surface knew what was happening below, only a few generals and scientists were aware of the secret. The project was so classified that even most governments believed it was a myth. One night, the power generators in the South Polar Base roared to life. The ground shook, ice cracked for miles, and the temperature dropped even lower. Inside the main chamber, Lena Miles stood before a giant black cannon, taller than a skyscraper. It glowed faintly with blue energy pulsing through its core. "This is it," she whispered. "Ragnarok 1. Elias watched through the glass observation deck, his heart pounding. Years of failure, ridicule, and silence had led to this single moment. "Fire the prototype," Elias ordered. The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. The sound echoed through the base. The cannon hummed, lights flickered, and the air vibrated with raw power. When the count reached 0, a massive beam of light erupted from the barrel. It tore through the ice and shot into the sky, breaking through the atmosphere in a glowing trail. The shockwave knocked everyone to the ground, and the entire base trembled. For a few seconds, there was silence. Then the monitors lit up with readings. The energy levels had surpassed every known limit. The beam had reached orbit in less than a second. Lena stared at the data, her eyes wide. "It worked," she said breathlessly. "It actually worked." Elias smiled for the first time in years, a proud and tired smile. But his relief didn't last long. Far above Earth, alien scanners had detected the energy surge, and within hours, reports started coming in from the orbital stations. Unidentified signals approaching. In the Galactic Council chamber, panic and curiosity spread. One of the alien envoys, a scaled creature named Vroxen, leaned forward and hissed, "Impossible. Humans cannot create that kind of power." Another replied, "Perhaps they stole it." But deep down, they all knew. Humani. Tai had done something no one else could. They had built a weapon that broke every known law of energy control. Back on Earth, Lena was still staring at the readings when the alert sirens began to wail. "Commander," shouted one of the officers, "an object has entered orbit." Elias turned toward the screen, his expression calm but his voice cold. "Show me." On the monitor appeared a colossal alien dreadnought, black, sharp, and surrounded by plasma shields. The name on its hull read, Vraxian, the flagship of the Zalari Empire. The same empire that had laughed the loudest when humanity failed. A voice came through the speakers. "This is Admiral Trezak of the Zalari. Humanity is forbidden to develop weapons of mass destruction. You will surrender your research immediately." Lena's heart raced. "They know," she whispered. "They found us." Elias stood silent for a moment. Then he looked at her and said, "Let them come." He turned to the officers and gave a single command. Prepare Ragnarok for defense mode. As the alien dreadnought moved into position, its shadow covered half the continent. The sky glowed with incoming fire, and deep under the ice, humanity's first true weapon came to life, humming with unstoppable energy. The command room lights flickered, the air buzzed, and Lena's eyes met Elias's. Do you think we can stop them? She asked. Elias answered without hesitation. We don't stop them, Doctor, he said. We make them remember who we are. Above the planet, the dreadnought charged its main cannon. The first shot was fired, lighting the night sky like a second sun. The beam fell toward Earth, but just before it struck, the underground weapon released its power. The two beams collided in midair, a blinding explosion spreading across the atmosphere. For a few moments, the galaxy held its breath, and far away, on alien worlds, the laughter stopped. Cliffhanger. As the dust settled and sensors recalibrated, a single message appeared on the alien network, a human voice. He whispered through the static, "They've finished the first weapon." The Earth trembled under the shock of the battle. Above the clouds, the alien dreadnought Vraxian hung like a black mountain in the sky. Its plasma cannons glowed crimson, cutting through the upper atmosphere with fire and thunder. Human defense satellites burned one by one, but deep underground the humans were not afraid. They were waiting, watching, calculating. Commander Elias Ward stood in the war room, his eyes fixed on the live feed of the orbit. The enemy ship was massive, almost 20 kilometers long, a fortress made of living metal. But Elias's expression didn't waver. His calm voice cut through the chaos. Activate Phase 2. The order echoed through the base like a war cry. Dr. Lena Miles ran her hands over the glowing control panels. Energy readings flickered across the screens, rising faster than safety limits allowed. Commander, she said, the core is overheating. It might collapse. Elias stared at the burning red numbers and replied quietly, then let it burn. Technicians shouted, alarms blared, the entire underground base shook as the weapon drew power from Earth's mantle. The floor cracked, the ice outside exploded upward, and blue energy veins spread like lightning through the tundra. The alien sensors detected the spike and began broadcasting across the galaxy. The message was simple, terrifying, and impossible. The humans are awakening their weapon. In orbit, Admiral Trezak watched the readings in disbelief. He slammed his clawed hand on the console. Fire again, he ordered. The dreadnought's cannons roared, unleashing a storm of plasma. But before the beams could reach the ground, they curved, bending away like light itself refused to strike the Earth. A shimmering barrier had appeared, a dome of energy that spread from the poles. It was humanity's first planeta, a shield born from the same reactor that powered Ragnarok 1. Inside the base, Lena stared at the readings in awe. Commander, she whispered, the shield is holding. Elias smiled faintly. Good, he said. Now let's see if the gun can talk back. The command deck dimmed. The cannon chamber glowed bright as a small sun. The giant barrel lifted slowly, pointing toward the sky. Every screen in the base flickered, showing a single phrase. Target locked. Elias raised his hand. Fire Ragnarok 1. The beam erupted. It was not a simple shot of light. It was a river of molten energy, pure and alive. It pierced the clouds, vaporizing them in an instant. The shot hit Vraxian directly on its core. For a second, the stars went dark, and then silence. No explosion, no sound, just emptiness. The dreadnought had vanished, erased completely from existence. Where it once floated, there was now a glowing scar in space. Lena covered her mouth, tears forming in her eyes. It's gone, she whispered. Elias nodded slowly. One shot, he said. That's all it took. Around the galaxy, alien communications exploded with panic. Empires that had ruled for millennia now trembled. The council called emergency meetings. Their leaders shouted across holographic channels. How did the humans do it? What kind of weapon is this? They were not supposed to have this power. But humanity did not speak. They didn't boast. They didn't explain. They simply cleaned the debris from orbit and rebuilt their satellites. The universe had always mocked Earth's ambition. Now, for the first time, the universe was afraid of it. Meanwhile, in the shadow of Antarctica's storm, A second facility came online, this one larger, deeper, and far more advanced. Lena entered the chamber. It looked like a cathedral of light. 10 enormous reactors surrounded a central core, each humming like a living heart. On the wall, glowing letters read, Project Ragnarok, Phase 2, Starbreaker Array. Lena walked slowly through the corridor, her eyes reflecting the pale blue glow. Hands touched the glass covering the control modules. This is what they fear, she said softly. And they should. Behind her, Elias entered the room, his uniform scorched from battle, his face cold but proud. How long until it's ready, he asked. 2 weeks, she replied. If we survive that long. The two stood in silence, watching the reactors pulse like the heartbeat of a giant. Outside, the snowstorm screamed across the frozen wasteland, but deep below, humanity's heart was burning hotter than ever. Then a voice crackled through the comms, a deep, trembling voice from one of the orbital satellites. Commander, multiple contacts detected, repeating, multiple fleets incoming from the outer systems. Elias turned sharply. How many ships? The operator hesitated. All of them, sir. Every major alien empire was moving toward Earth. From every corner of the galaxy, fleets of thousands of warships were converging. The Council had declared humanity a level 0 threat, a race too dangerous to exist. The stars themselves began to flicker as alien armadas blocked out the light. Lena felt a chill run down her spine. They're coming for us, she said. Elias turned to her with steady eyes. Then we'll be ready. He looked up at the reactors glowing behind her. We built one weapon that shattered a ship, he said. Now we build 10 that will shatter the stars. The stars above Earth began to die. Not because they faded, but because alien fleets were blocking them one by one. From every direction, thousands of ships approached, their engines glowing like red suns. The galaxy had united for one cause, to erase humanity before it became unstoppable. In the Antarctic command base, alarms screamed through the frozen tunnels. Holographic displays filled the room, showing countless enemy signatures closing in. Commander Elias Ward stood at the center, his eyes cold and sharp. Around him, the crew worked in silence, fear hanging in the air like smoke. Dr. Lena Miles leaned over the control table, her fingers trembling, as she calculated the incoming trajectories. They're coming in waves, Commander, she said. First contact in 15 minutes. Elias nodded slowly, his voice calm. Then 15 minutes is all we have left to prove who we are. Outside, in orbit, the alien armada stretched across the sky. An ocean of steel and light, each empire had sent its best. Their super dreadnoughts armed with planet-killer cannons, alien admirals shouted across their channels, no mercy, no hesitation, destroy Earth. They didn't know that beneath the ice, humanity had already aimed its weapons, the underground chamber of Ragnarok. One glowed brighter than ever, the main cannon hummed with power, shaking the walls. Lena's voice echoed through the base. Charging complete, ready to fire. Elias raised his hand. Lock on target. The first alien fleet entered orbit. Thousands of ships opened fire at once, plasma beams raining down like firestorms. The sky turned red, oceans boiled, and the Earth's magnetic field screamed under the assault. But then, a blinding blue light erupted from the South Pole. A single beam cut through the chaos, splitting the heavens. It struck the alien flagship at the center of the formation. There was no explosion, no debris. The ship simply vanished, erased from existence. The other fleets froze, their commanders staring in disbelief. Elias whispered, "One down." But humanity wasn't done. The remaining alien fleets adjusted their formations, spreading out across orbit. They fired again, this time with coordinated precision. Missiles streaked through the atmosphere, glowing trails filling the sky. Lena shouted, "Shields failing! Sectors 3 and 5 are gone!" Elias clenched his fists. Then we fight without them. Deep beneath the ice, the ground cracked open, revealing new silos hidden beneath frozen crust. From them, massive pillars of metal began to rise. Covered in frost and glowing with energy, each one connected to Ragnarok's core through underground channels. The entire continent was becoming a weapon. The second cannon came online, Ragnarok 2. Lena looked at Elias, her face pale but her eyes bright. "It's ready," she said. He gave the order, "Fire." The second beam launched upward, tearing through space like a lightning storm. It passed through 2 enemy cruisers, splitting them clean in half before exploding behind them. The shock wave shredded entire squadrons, their ships turning to molten fragments. In the Galactic Council chamber, chaos broke out. Alien leaders screamed at one another, demanding answers. How did humans develop such power? Why didn't our spies stop them? But the truth was simple. They had underestimated humanity too long. Now they were watching the price of their arrogance. Back on Earth, the skies burned red and gold. The alien armadas began firing planetary disruptors, weapons meant to destroy worlds. Lena shouted. They're targeting the core. If they hit it, Antarctica will collapse. Elias turned to the tactical officer. Redirect all power to Defense Grid 7. The officer hesitated. Sir, that will drain the shield. Elias replied. Then we'll make our stand without it. The next plasma strike hit near the base, throwing everyone off their feet. Sparks rained from the ceiling, alarms blared. Smoke filled the command room, but through the haze, Lena's voice rose. Ragnarok 3 is online. Elias smiled grimly. Then we're still in this fight. He stood before the main display, watching hundreds of alien ships closing in. Their weapons glowed like suns, ready to erase everything. Elias whispered under his breath, "Let them come." At that moment, 10 massive beams of light rose from Earth. Not from one cannon, but from 10. The Ragnarok network had awakened. From Orb. The alien admiral saw the impossible. The entire planet was alive, its surface glowing with energy like a burning star. Each weapon fired in perfect sequence, weaving together beams of power that twisted through space. The alien fleets tried to scatter, but it was too late. The beams met at a single point, forming a brilliant explosion that outshone the sun. The shockwave expanded, erasing thousands of ships in seconds. Silence fell across the battlefield. The surviving alien ships fled, their communications filled with terrified screams. On Earth, the command room erupted in cheers and tears. Lena fell to her knees, exhausted but smiling. "We did it," she said. "We actually did it." Elias stood still, his face lit by the soft blue light of the monitors. He looked out toward the stars and said quietly, "This is only the beginning." But even as the celebration began, a new signal appeared on the radar. It was faint, distant, but massive. Lena frowned. "Commander, there's something else out there." Elias turned. "Another fleet?" She shook her head slowly, her voice shaking. "No, Commander. It's bigger than a fleet." The screen zoomed in. A colossal shadow moving behind the stars. A structure so large it blotted out light itself. The Galactic Council had unleashed their final weapon. A living planet-sized fortress known only as the Celestial Devourer. The void beyond Jupiter rippled like dark water. Out of that endless blackness drifted a shadow so vast it swallowed planets. The alien empires called it the Celestial Devourer, a moving world forged from the wreckage of dying suns. Its surface pulsed with red fire, and every pulse devoured energy from nearby systems. Entire moons went dark as it fed. Across the galaxy, panic spread faster than light. Civilizations that once mocked humanity now broadcast desperate warnings. The Council declared a total war protocol, but their fleets were already in ruins. The only thing still standing between them and extinction was the same species, I had laughed at the humans. In Earth's orbit, wreckage from the last battle still glowed like burning dust. Commander Elias Ward watched the data feeds, his face calm but his eyes heavy with exhaustion. Dr. Lena Miles entered the command deck, her uniform torn, her voice raw. "Commander, the Devourer is heading toward us. Its core is a black hole reactor. If it reaches Earth, everything dies." Elias turned slowly toward her. "Then it never reaches Earth," he said. The underground chambers of Project Ragnarok came alive again. Technicians raced through glowing corridors, power conduits humming like thunder. Lena moved to the control console, her hands shaking over the keys. "The Starbreaker array is still incomplete," she warned. Elias stepped closer, his tone steady. "Then we finish it tonight." Deep below the Antarctic crust, 10 reactors synchronized for the first time. Blue light flooded the tunnels, the ice above cracked like glass. The array rose from the depths, a network of colossal weapons orbiting through magnetic rings, each cannon connected by arcs of energy forming a single global circuit. When combined, They could do more than destroy fleets. They could unmake stars. Meanwhile, the celestial devourer crossed Neptune's orbit. Its gravity ripped apart asteroids and moons, pulling them into its molten core. Alien sensors screamed as their readings broke beyond measurable limits. One scientist whispered in terror, "It feeds on light itself." But Earth stood waiting. Humanity had built its monster to face a god. On the command bridge of the Dauntless, humanity's flagship, Elias addressed his fleet. Across millions of screens, his voice echoed to every pilot, engineer, and soldier. "We were told we were too small, too weak, too young to challenge the galaxy," he said. "But today, every eye in the universe is watching. They think we will run, they thit. NK, we will beg, they are wrong. Today humanity stands." The fleet roared in unison, thousands of human ships moving into position. Lena initiated the countdown for the Starbreaker array. 10 minutes to full charge, she said. Outside, the sky shimmered as the Devourer entered the inner system. Its massive cannons glowed red, each capable of erasing continents. Then it fired. The beam that came from the Devourer was not light, but hunger. It tore through Mars like paper, leaving nothing but dust and silence. Elias clenched his fists. "Begin counterfire." The array responded, 10 beams rising from Earth's surface, twisting together like dragons of energy. They collided with the Devourer's shield, the impact shaking every planet between Earth and Saturn. For a moment, it looked as if the stars themselves were breaking apart. Lena's console exploded with sparks. She shouted, "Energy feedback at maximum. We can't hold it." Elias shouted back, "Divert the excess into the orbital cannons. Release it all." The Starbreaker array flashed brighter than a sun. The sky turned white, and for one breathless instant time seemed to stop. When the light faded, half of the Devourer's body was gone, melted into cosmic dust. The rest drifted wounded, howling with gravitational storms. The crew cheered, but Lena looked at her readings and froze. "Commander," she whispered, "it's regenerating." The Devourer absorbed the debris around it, rebuilding its armor faster than before. It opened its core, revealing a dark sphere that swallowed light. Lena realized what it was. A living singularity. "If that core opens fully, the entire system will collapse," she said. Elias turned toward the window, his reflection glowing in the storm. "Then we aim for the heart." He opened a direct link to every remaining ship. "Listen to me," he said. "This is the moment our story is written. If we fail, no one will remember we existed. But if we succeed, the stars will carry our name forever." His words spread across frequencies, reaching colonies, miners, soldiers, even children walk. Hing from shelters, and in that moment, humanity became one heartbeat. The Starbreaker array recharged, pulling power from the Earth's molten core. The planet itself began to quake. Oceans lifted into the air. Storms wrapped around the poles. Lena screamed over the noise. "We're tearing the planet apart," Elias replied without hesitation. "Then we make the sacrifice worth it." He slammed his hand on the control switch. "Fire all weapons." The array unleashed its fury. 10 beams converged into one spiral of light that shot straight into the Devourer's core. For a second, everything went silent. Then the universe screamed. A shockwave tore across space, planets shifted from orbit, stars dimmed, and the Devourer began to implode. Its body folded in on itself, crushed by the gravity it once commanded. Through the chaos, Lena shouted, "Core destabilizing! It's going to collapse into a singularity." Elias whispered, "Then let it take itself." The Devourer collapsed, its own energy devouring it whole. When the light cleared, nothing remained but a black scar in the sky where a world once stood. Earth hung quiet and broken, its atmosphere glowing faintly blue. The command room was silent except for the hum of dying systems. Lena looked around, eyes wide with exhaustion. "Did we win?" she asked. Elias turned toward her slowly, his face lit by the pale light of the monitors. "For now," he said softly. Then the sensors flickered again, detecting faint signals in the dark. Dozens of smaller ships, survivors of the Devourer, were regrouping beyond the moon, and deep in that darkness something ancient stirred, something older than the Devourer itself. Smoke still drifted across the frozen skies of Earth. The Starbreaker array had burned the heavens clean, but the cost was written in the ruins below. Cities lay silent, Oceans boiled at the edges, and the people of Earth kept upward, afraid to breathe. For the first time in galactic history, the universe feared humanity. Commander Elias Ward walked through the shattered control center. The once bright screens were now cracked and sparking. Dr. Lena Miles sat at her console, her face pale from exhaustion. "The Devourer is gone," she said softly, but something else survived. Elias looked at the flickering hologram above them, a map showing hundreds of small enemy signals forming beyond the moon. "They're reorganizing," he said. "Someone warned them where to strike." Her head snapped up. "You mean a traitor?" Elias nodded, his expression cold as steel. "Only 3 people knew the coordinates of the array, and 2 of them are standing right here." A chill ran through the room. Lena checked the security logs, her fingers flying across the cracked keyboard. For a moment nothing happened, then a name appeared on the screen. Captain Reese Keller, second in command of Project Ragnarok. He had vanished hours before the Devourer arrived. Elias's jaw tightened. "Find him," he said, "before he finishes what the aliens started." Far beneath the base, in the maintenance tunnels, Keller moved through the dark carrying a small black case. Inside it glowed a fragment of alien code. A living data seed stolen from the Devourer's wreckage. His eyes were empty, his voice calm as he whispered into his communicator. "I've done my part. You promised peace." A distorted voice answered, "And peace you shall have, once humanity's fire is gone." The signal cut off. Keller opened the case and connected it to the power core. The lights in the tunnel turned red. Alarms blared through the facility. Lena felt the vibration first. "Commander, there's a power surge in Reactor 6, she shouted. Elias rushed to the control table. "Shut it down!" "I can't," she cried. "Someone's locked the system from inside." They both froze when a voice echoed through the intercom. It was Keller, his tone eerily calm. "You don't understand, Commander. We were never meant to win. The Iverse needs balance, and humanity has tipped it too far." Elias's hands clenched. "You betrayed every soldier who died out there," Keller replied. "I saved what's left of the galaxy." On the lower level, security teams ran toward the tunnels. Keller backed away from the reactor, the red light flickering across his face. He pressed a final command, and the alien code spread through the systems like poison. Across the base, the lights flickered, and one by one the Ragnarok weapons went dark. In orbit, alien fleets that had been retreating suddenly changed course. They were receiving signals from Keller's beacon. Lena screamed, "He's giving them access to the array network." Elias slammed his hand against the console. "Override it now." She typed faster, her breath shallow. "I can't, the code is rewriting itself." Outside, the Earth's shield began to flicker. Plasma fire rained from the heavens again, turning the upper atmosphere into flame. Inside the base, Keller's voice grew faint over the intercom. "I never wanted this," he said. "I just wanted it to stop." Elias grabbed his sidearm and ran through the corridors. He found Keller standing before the glowing reactor, his hand on the manual control. "Step away," Elias ordered. Keller turned slowly, his eyes full of tears. "If I shut it down, the overload will destroy the entire base." Elias aimed the gun. "Then we die saving it." He fired. The shot echoed through the chamber. Keller fell, the console short-circuited, and the alarms went silent. Lena's voice came through the radio. "Commander, the code stopped spreading, but the reactors are unstable." Elias looked at the reactor's core. Cracks of light spread across it like veins. "Evacuate everyone," he said quietly. "What about you?" she asked. "I'll make sure it doesn't blow," he replied. Minutes later, the base was empty except for Elias. He stood before the burning reactor, entering manual commands into the old control panel. Through the window, he could see the sky glowing from the renewed alien assault. He pressed the final override, and the reactor roared like a dying star. Far above, Lena watched from an escape shuttle, tears streaming down her face. "Come on, Commander, come on," she whispered. Then the ground erupted in blue fire, a silent explosion spreading across the ice. The shockwave reached the clouds but stopped, contained, controlled. He had done it. He had saved the array by sacrificing himself. The radio crackled once. Lena heard his voice one last time, soft and steady. "Tell them we're not broken. We're reforged." The shuttle rose into orbit, and behind her, the light from Antarctica faded into the dark. Humanity had survived again, but at a terrible cost, and as the alien fleets regrouped beyond the moon, Lena turned toward the stars, her eyes burning with fury. The world was quiet. Antarctica had become a grave of light and ice, the place where Commander Elias Ward made his last stand. Above it, smoke rose into the cold sky like a monument. The war was not over, but humanity had stopped breathing. Just for a moment, Dr. Lena Miles sat in the command chair of the evacuation ship. Her hands trembled as she replayed the final message again and again. "Tell them we're not broken. We're reforged." His voice echoed through the static. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Then I will finish what you began." Outside the viewport, Earth looked wounded but alive. Cities flickered back to life. Satellites drifted in silent orbit. Human fleets regrouped above the clouds, their hulls scarred and smoking. They waited for a command that would never come, until Lena's voice filled every channel. "This is Dr. Miles. Commander Ward is gone, but humanity is not finished. We will rise again." Her words carried through space, through fear, through despair, and somewhere deep beneath the planet's crust, something answered. The ground began to shake, across. The continents, hidden silos, and buried machines stirred from centuries of silence. One by one, their cores ignited, blue light rising through rock and metal like veins awakening in a sleeping giant. Lena looked at the sensor readings, her eyes widening. "Impossible," she whispered. The secondary system survived. The consoles lit up with a single line of text. "Project Ragnarok. Phase 3 activated." The image appeared on her screen. 10 colossal towers buried deep beneath the crust, each tower connected to an orbital station floating high above. Together they formed a network of energy larger than anything humanity had ever built. The system that Elias had planned but never lived to see. The true heart of Earth's defense, known only in secret files as the 10. On the dark side of the moon, the alien survivors gathered. Their ships glowed crimson, forming a swarm of moving fire. Their commander, the ancient warlord Cerex, growled in anger. "They killed the Devourer. They shattered our fleets. Now we erase their world completely." He raised his hand, and the swarm advanced. 10,000 ships descending like a storm of blades. Lena stood in the war room aboard Dauntless 2. "Prepare all systems," she ordered. "Route power to the awakening nodes." The officers looked at her nervously. "Ma'am, we don't even know what those things will do." Lena smiled faintly. Neither did Elias, but he trusted them. And so will I. The planet began to glow. From mountain peaks and ocean depths, energy spires broke through the surface, each one as tall as a continent, humming with a living pulse. Lightning wrapped around them, joining into arcs of blue fire. The 10 were waking, in orbit. Alien sensors went wild. "Unknown energy signatures," shouted one of the operators. "Magnitude levels beyond planetary scale," another cried. The fleet hesitated, and for the first time in their history, the aliens felt something new. Fear. Lena's voice echoed through every ship. "Humanity's greatest weapons are not built to conquer. We'll show you what it means to defy the stars." The 10 towers released their power. Beams of light shot upward, piercing the atmosphere and forming a massive ring above Earth. The ring spun faster and faster until it became a halo of living light. Within that halo, 10 enormous shapes began to form. Not machines, not ships, but living constructs made of pure energy. Each one shaped like a human figure, towering over the planet, their eyes glowing white with fire. The galaxy watched in silence as Earth grew 10 guardians from its own soul. They were the final phase of Project Ragnarok, autonomous planetary avatars powered by humanity's collective energy. Each represented a virtue: courage, wisdom, faith, honor, unity, hope, strength, will, sacrifice, and love. Together, they formed the weapon humanity was never meant to build, the Shatterstorm Legion. Cerex's fleet opened fire. Millions of plasma bolts streaked through the void. But before they could touch the planet, the 10 moved, their arms lifted, and the energy of their bodies rippled like oceans in motion. Every shot that entered the halo simply vanished, absorbed, dissolved into light. Then the 10 struck back. From their hands, beams of power lanced across the stars. Each shot cut through hundreds of ships, slicing them apart without sound or heat. The alien fleet disintegrated, their formation collapsing in panic. Syrinx shouted in rage, "Fall back, regroup, it's impossible, they're gods." Lena watched from orbit, her face wet with tears. "They're not gods," she whispered. "They're us. Every soul on Earth, every human heart, every dream and memory was now part of the energy flowing through those titans. Humanity had become its own defense." The 10 turned toward the remnants of the fleet and released a final synchronized strike. The blast expanded like a sunrise across space. When the light faded, nothing remained but silence and drifting ash. In the control room, Lena sank to her knees, her voice trembling. "We did it. Elias, we did it." The world below began to heal. Storms calmed, oceans cooled, and as the 10 titans slowly folded their energy back into the planet, their lights dimmed, waiting for the next call. The Earth's surface glowed faintly, marked forever by the halo's shadow. But even as peace returned, deep in the void beyond the system, something ancient stirred, a whisper older than time, watching the newborn power of humanity with quiet hunger. And in that endless dark, a voice spoke, calm, cold, and eternal. "The humans have awakened their 10, now we awaken ours." The galaxy was silent. The fires of war had dimmed, leaving behind dust, light, and memories. Earth floated in the center of that silence, wrapped in the faint glow of its new guardians. The 10 slept beneath the clouds, their energy pulsing softly through the planet's core. For the first time in 1,000 years, the universe had no sound of battle. Dr. Lena Miles stood on the observation deck of Dauntless 2. Her reflection shone against the glass, her eyes hollow but alive. The stars outside looked peaceful, but she knew better. Peace never lasted, not in this galaxy. Behind her, holographic screens flickered with fragments of unknown signals. The words were distorted, alien, ancient. One of the officers called out, "Doctor, we're detecting something beyond the edge of our system. It's not a fleet. It's something bigger." Lena turned slowly. "Show me." The image appeared, a dark wave moving through space like a living shadow. No light could escape it. No scanner could read it. It wasn't made of ships. It wasn't made of matter. It was a thought, a presence, something watching, something remembering. Across every alien world, across the ruins of the Council's cities, the same message appeared, a single symbol, a black circle with 10 smaller stars around it. Then a voice echoed through every channel in the galaxy. "Humanity has awakened its 10, now we awaken ours." The voice wasn't mechanical or biological, it was deeper, woven into the fabric of space itself. Even the machines trembled when it spoke. Lena's heart pounded. She whispered, "It's not an empire. It's something older." The screen flashed, displaying a phrase in ancient data script. "The architects are returning." The name sent chills through her veins. The architects. The rumored creators of the first stars. The builders of galaxies. Myth said they vanished after shaping life itself, leaving behind seeds of power in chosen worlds. Elias had once theorized about them during the early days of Project Ragnarok. He had said, if humanity ever reaches their level, the universe will wake them up. And now it had. The dark wave grew closer, stretching across light years and hours. Planets it touched fell silent, their energy drained, their stars dimming. The 10 Titans began to stir from their rest. Their eyes glowed once more, brighter than before. Lena ordered, "All forces prepare for contact." The command centers across the Earth synchronized. Every remaining ship joined the orbit ring, their weapons aligned toward the void. The 10 rose slowly from the oceans, from the deserts, from the mountains, each towering like a god of light, waiting for orders. Then the dark wave reached the solar edge, and it stopped. From within it stepped shapes, enormous beings of pure white flame. They looked human, but older, grander, each one surrounded by a crown of stars. They spoke without sound. "We are the architects. We built the stars. We built you. Lena's mind shook under the psychic pressure of their voices. Memories that weren't hers flashed through her head. Galaxies being born, civilizations rising and falling in seconds. The architects looked at her as though she were a child holding fire. You have become what? And you were never meant to be. Humanity was a seed, not a storm. Lena stood her ground. Her voice was small but fierce. You left us to survive alone. We fought, we learned, we earned this power. The lead architect tilted its head, its face unreadable. And now you threaten the balance of existence, it said. You must return the light. The 10 Titans moved in unison, forming a wall between the architects and Earth. Their energy flared bright blue. Lena connected to their minds through the command link. We will not surrender, she said. Commander Ward died for this. Billions died for this. Humanity stands. The architects extended their hands. A surge of energy swept through the void, slamming into the 10. The shockwave shattered satellites, fractured the moon, and sent human ships spinning out of control. Lena fell to the ground, her ears ringing, her vision white. Then she heard it, a voice cutting through the chaos, familiar, steady, unbreakable. Lena, stand up. Her eyes widened. The signal came from deep within Earth's core. Elias Ward's voice, calm as the stars. Did you think I'd leave without finishing the plan? The 10's energy signatures spiked off the charts, their lights turned from blue to white, their shapes shifting. Elias's voice continued. The final phase wasn't destruction, it was transcendence. The 10 merged, their bodies fusing into one colossal form of living light, a being larger than planets, its eyes burning like suns. The architects paused. One whispered, impossible. They've merged consciousness with matter. Elias's voice echoed from the light. You built the stars. We built ourselves. The giant raised its hand. The energy pulse that followed crossed galaxies. When it ended, the dark wave was gone. The architects vanished, and silence returned. Lena awoke days later, drifting above Earth. The 10 were gone. Their Ine, now part of the planet itself. Elias's voice lingered faintly in the comms. If humanity ever forgets who it is, listen to the stars. We're there. She stood by the viewport watching Earth bathed in golden dawn. The galaxies beyond shimmered like living embers, and she smiled through her tears. They said humanity couldn't build a weapon strong enough, she whispered. But we built 10 that shattered the stars and one that rebuilt the universe.